Hi, all, and welcome to Lifting the Veil of the Dark Web. We're going to give it a couple of minutes before we start, just to let a couple more people jump in. And we'll probably start the broadcast here in about 3 minutes. All right, well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Matt, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and kick off. You ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All
Perfect.
right. All right, guys. Well, welcome. This is Alex Corson over at Veriato. I'm the Director of Sales and Business Development over here, and it is my absolute pleasure to be presenting with Matt Solomon, the VP of Business Development and IT Complete over at Kaseya. He is coming on to speak about ID Agent, which is really about how to go in and deep dive into the dark web and make sure that you and your clients are safe, as well as how it can work hand in hand and in tandem with our insider threat protection, which thereby just sort of increases your profit margin and allows you to work within the new normal of this hybrid workforce and making sure that everybody that is your client and as you are building business is protected. So we're going to do our first poll question.
Alex, do you want me to launch the poll?
Ooh, yes, please.
Alrighty. So the question is, how much are the Dark Overlords, which is a hacking group, willing to pay their employees per month? So if you want to take a guess on that, we're going to, of course, give you the answer. It's it's part of talking about how this is being run like a real business. So that's what we're going with here.
And we really have 5 reasons that the dark web is booming right now. Now, this is from Forbes in April of this year. And right now, we have the cryptocurrency $1 billion in 2019. And what's happening is with the anonymity of Bitcoin, it's kind of led to the dark web market to pop up and flourish a lot. The cryptocurrency is enabling sellers and buyers to execute trusted transactions without knowing each other's identities, which is kind of giving them that veil, right? So each Bitcoin transaction is kept private by only revealing their wallet IDs. And keeping a Bitcoin's user's transaction private also allows them to enter criminal markets and get involved with buying and selling illegal goods, which also includes personal information. So we have information that a report released by a leading crypto payment analytic firm, Chainalysis, showed a rise in Bitcoin transactions on the dark web market. It went from 250 million in 2012 to 872 million in 2018. And they're projecting that the transactions are going to reach more than 1 billion from 2019 to 2020. And the criminal sellers operating in the dark web market have started to add attractive new offerings to their virtual stores. One of these is cybercriminals selling fiat money, and that means Bitcoin is 10% of its value, where the customer can pay a cybercriminal $800 in Bitcoin and in return get 10,000 transferred into their bank account. So we also are talking about the growth of anonymity inside of the networks, right? So Tor secured browser technology remains the largest network for this, and with more than 2 million active users connected directly to its service, the bandwidth capacity of the network has increased from approximately 50 gigs per second in 2014 to over 300 gigs per second in 2018, which the growth in the past 5 years, the number of unique addresses of Tor hidden services has increased from approximately 30,000 to 80,000, which is a huge influx, and the overall growth of the Tor network has propelled the growth of the dark web markets due to its expanding user base too. So going back to the poll that Matt was just talking about, it's really starting to be a business that is very, very advanced.
Yeah, and so 50% of the people said 25,000, 50% said 63,000. We'll
Which
be
one?
getting
Which
to the
one?
answer.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like, do we get to tell them which one's right?
Yeah, we'll get to the answer.
Ransom payouts to cyber criminals. That's another one, right? So ransomware attacks have been rapidly increasing over the past few years, and I'm thinking that one reason of the increase is the fact that cyber criminals are actually being paid out. For instance, in 2019, Riviera Beach City, like we're in Florida right now. Um, Veriato is, at least. Matt is in a much cooler environment right now. Where are you right now? Are you in
No,
DC area?
I'm in Washington D.C. I wouldn't
Oh,
call it
okay.
that much. I mean, it might be cooler than Florida, but it's not. It's pretty hot up here.
Whatever. Anyways, we got our Riviera Beach City got their systems hacked by cyber criminals, and they end up paying out 65 bitcoins, which was the equivalent of $600,000 to the attackers as ransom. And in 2017, the Korean web hosting firm Internet Nyana ended up paying 1.14 million in ransom payments, which is considered to be the biggest ransomware payout to date. So it is growing and it is getting much, much more professional. It's also indirectly causing a surge in these ransomware attacks because as the ransomware attacks are increasing, the budget is increasing, the ransom call is increasing, and people are starting to jump on the bandwagon, realizing that this is a cash cow, which is basically showing increased profitability. So I'm actually going to let Matt talk about this part because increasing profitability of the dark web markets, that's his wheelhouse. So, do you want to take like just a second to just go over why it has increased the profitability of the dark web markets?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is just the sophistication levels of the hacking groups has just exploded over the last couple of years. And I won't step on too many of my slides, but they're so nimble in how they react to the marketplace. COVID being one of them, and I'll actually show real snapshots from the dark web of how quickly they shifted their entire business model to focus on COVID related attacks. And it gets into phishing emails. But there was this one study done where I think it was 80% of malicious activity shifted to COVID-19 related attacks within a matter of like 2 weeks. Even hackers had to adjust. It even took them like a week or two to adjust to what was going on. But that's really where they're so nimble, and they just are able to attack in such velocity and in brute force. And we'll start talking a little bit about that coming up here.
Yeah, totally. We even saw again, I don't want to step on your slides and I haven't seen them, so I don't know if it has this, but Remember when COVID first came out and they were saying, "Oh, we're gonna hack even more people, but don't worry, we'll leave the hospitals alone." It was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
gee, thanks." Like, it was so nice of them. But based with the COVID-19 era, right? The attack surfaces are increasing. I mean, people are working from home. They're accessing more cloud-based solutions. It's not like there wasn't a map before we all did this, right? So it's not like people knew that they needed the dual launch codes to get into specific applications. So just by default, they were already kind of at the whims of the hackers because you're using your home network and you're using all of the things that you normally use and you're just kind of trying to do your best. So as MSPs are coming to us and to ID Agent, they're saying, okay, how do I now protect my entire client base? Because now they're just, they're not doing stupid on purpose, but they're also multitasking with ABC mouse and helping their kids and accessing and leaving things open. So the attack surfaces for sure are increasing. And is the dark web recruiting your employees? This is with that hacking group, Dark Overlord. That was the poll question that Matt rolled out earlier. So the attacks don't always come from outside. Insider breaches and insider threats account for about 60% of data exfiltration, and you need to understand what hacking groups actively are recruiting employees and paying 10 times what a legitimate company pays. And I can't even say legitimate company. I mean, they're presenting pretty professionally right now.
Yeah.
They're like obviously I'm in the wrong industry at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the best security practice always dictates a multi-layered approach, and it's no different with dark web threats and security. So Veriato and ID Agent work hand in hand to provide a comprehensive multi-layered security approach. And we created this diagram to really show how this works because it's so important to make sure that everything is working holistically together. So ID Agent is working from the outside in. So it's scouring the dark web, it's alerting you to credentials that have been compromised. You can scan for your employees and more importantly for your clients' employees to ensure no one has compromised credentials, leading to easy network access by hackers. Veriato works very similarly from the inside out, watching all employee behavior to identify imposters on the network. So, additionally, it's watching for a rogue employee who might have decided to take advantage of the cash offered on the dark web. They might have become like that inside man or the inside threat. Um, and then, if I'm painting a picture, you also want to trust your people and you want to make sure that your clients have no worries about their employees. So it's always good to see if something's been compromised from the outside because when we have an alert from Veriato where we're saying, hey, this person is doing something they're not supposed to do, verify that they haven't been the victim of a breach as well with ID Agent so that you can get a full picture because maybe they're not the inside man or woman or they're not doing anything wrong, but they were breached and somebody came in that way and it's making it look like they're doing something wrong. So that's just something food for thought, just so that you're not always thinking that everybody's bad and it's all out to get the client. You need to we obviously want to protect, but let's do it in a way that is still compassionate and kind because everybody is still working through a pandemic. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Matt to tell you more about what's lurking on the dark web and how ID Agent can help drive revenue for you.
Thank you very much, Alex. And yeah, I
You're
was gonna,
welcome.
even point out, and certainly we're not saying on that slide that Alex was showing that there's not other security components, but you think about the two companies, you're covering so much in just two companies, because you don't want to work with 25 different security vendors. That's actually probably a security threat in itself. Putting your organization at risk, going through so many vendors. So it is nice to be able to team up with companies like both of ours that are offering a variety of different services. So again, my name is Matt Solomon, Vice President of Business Development at Kaseya. Um, I was really the first employee at ID Agent, and we came onto the scene back in maybe late 2015, and really kind of took the MSP stage really quickly, I guess. We came onto the scene quickly. No one really in the space had heard about dark web monitoring until ID Agent came into the fold. And so really my goal is to just give you a high level overview of what we do, but really I want to get into the educational piece on, what are some of the threats that are occurring in 2020, and then actually show you how MSPs are utilizing our tool to help sell the rest of their security stack, not just dark web monitoring. So in terms of our offering, it's simple, scalable, and profitable. So we have Dark Web ID, which is really our core product, dark web monitoring. We're monitoring the dark web 24/7 for compromised credentials. So typically what's occurring is an employee is using a work email on a third-party website. So think about LinkedIn or Dropbox, and they're using their work email, and potentially that website like LinkedIn is getting breached and exposing those credentials. And then the issue being is, are those passwords that are being exposed on LinkedIn, are those network passwords? Are they variations of network passwords, personal passwords that could lead to risk? And unfortunately, the answer is yes to all of those. I mean, we're all humans. We cannot remember so many different passwords. So unfortunately, we follow patterns. That was followed up with Bullfish ID, which is our security awareness training tool and phishing simulation. And then Passly ID, which is what we just launched, which is really password management, multi-factor authentication, and single sign-on. So those are our three core offerings. Kind of getting back, and it's so crazy because this slide, I can't even keep up with how often we need to update it, but we're actually at 3,100 current partners in about 35 countries. The one stat I really like to hone in on, and that's actually not 5, we actually have 5 former MSP CEOs on staff. And I think that's really important. It's one of the most things we're most proud of. We're bringing in people who understand the MSP industry. They know what the needs are, and we design really our entire program around that. So we have 5 former MSP CEOs on staff. We've got a slew of other from our marketing, our BD people that are also from this space. So they really do understand it. So getting into some of the key marketing messaging for 2020, I'm not going to read over this list because I have a couple slides where we'll talk about those. The ones we hone in on, zero trust, I'll really talk about. And then I'm not going to get into remote work too much today, but of course, that's certainly the one that needed to be added with COVID-19 taking place. But we really believe in this zero trust concept, is that you have to assume now, unfortunately, and I'm going to back this up later with some statistics, that every one of your employees or your customers' employees have been exposed on some level. And that's really where this holistic approach of access management takes place. And there's the great bridge between both of our companies here, which is having the right people with the right security access to the right machines with the right privileges, and then on the back end monitoring for those compromised credentials. And again, I mean, when Alex comes on to talk about this, you think about if somebody has actual credentials, you may never know if they're on your network because they've logged in with legitimate credentials, and that's where that human behavior element is so important, because it needs to know if, hey, this person never goes to this area of our server, or whatever the case is. So that's why both components are so important to be monitoring for. I don't think I have to tell you guys this, but MSPs are under attack. We've seen, nation states, China going after MSPs. The FBI has come out with warnings. We're unfortunately, seeing, I believe this provider out of Colorado, I do think they actually went out of business after a ransomware attack. So, it's not just the customer that's being hit; it's the MSPs, because it's the one-to-many concept. It's why if you work with any law firms or any professional services companies who have access to a lot of clients, I mean, these types of services should be not only a no-brainer, but they should be required, because it's the same concept. If you can attack a law firm, you could potentially get to every one of their clients. Compliance and privacy laws, right? So some of this stuff is going to be forced upon customers regardless, and certainly MSPs as well. We often say GDPR is coming to America. It's kind of coming to America state by state. California passed, some pretty sweeping laws on January 1st. New York Shield Act followed that up in March 1st, 2020. And that doesn't just affect you if you work in New York, it's if any of your customers are in New York. So it really can apply to a lot more people than they think. And the New York Shield Act is one of the first ones that says, even beyond having to hit like certain thresholds, let's say it's 50 employees, they're the first ones to actually adopt language saying, hey, even if you don't meet these requirements or these standards of being a part of the Shield Act, you better be doing something, right? That's where that training summit. You have to be showing you're doing something to help prevent some of this stuff. And actually, Louisiana, I don't have it on my slide deck here, but Louisiana just passed some laws where it actually requires MSPs to register if they're going to be working with any public entities. And I guarantee that's going to be starting to pass in different states as well. So definitely look that up. The next thing we're going to shift to is phishing attacks are surging. Again, probably not something that you're not aware of. And I've got a poll because I want to, we're going to talk about phishing simulations and security awareness training. So I'm just going to launch this poll. It's a very quick poll. Does your MSP require your customers to do security awareness training? So I can't see it on my screen. I'm going to assume it's up there because it says it's a poll in
I
progress.
see it. It's
You see it?
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I'll give you a second to fill that out, but just while you're filling that out, again, the FBI on April 6th came out anticipating obviously a rise in COVID-19 related things. I told you about the percentage that was taking place, and now I'm gonna actually show you real slides or real snapshots from the dark web. And this is where it's so important to make your customers aware of what is taking place in the real world when it comes to this type of stuff. So this is, a COVID-19 example, and it's really important again for them to understand, what these things look like, because everybody's just searching for data on this stuff. This is, you guys might know on this call to look at, the section where it came from. Not everybody understands that. This was a really slick one. They did cdc/gov.org instead of just cdc.gov. So, again, if you don't know to look for these things, very difficult to spot them, particularly if you're on a mobile device. So really important to make sure you're showing examples of these to your customers. This is a workplace policy. Think about every time there's a new policy that's coming out related to COVID, which is probably once a month at least, as it relates to your organization, maybe even more. But especially as we start to go back into the office and maybe even have to go back out, you're going to start seeing more workplace policy changes, and that's what they hit on. They go right into those policies. Of course, if you click on, the disease management policy, that's going to lead to malware. This one's for a specialist. So, again, so any employee who's looking to get more information on COVID-19, this is very easy to fall for. Safety measure PDF, again, malware. SMS phishing become very popular. This is, UK Gov one. With all the government assistance and things like that, it's such an easy vector for hackers to target. The other thing we always like to show, and I'll tell you, the reason we show these slides is so that we can make you understand, and it's really ultimately for your customer, because you can use a lot of the slides when you become a partner of ours. It's really for the customers to understand that this is being run like a real business, and that they are certainly at risk. Even if they're a small business, they are at risk. And so this is just an example, phishing kits looking for a project. This is a step-by-step guide to hack a phishing simulation, and really anybody can create these templates. One of our inside people created a template right here. So one of these is real, one of them is fake. I think the one on the left, I always forget, is I think because it says .html is the fake one. But if you look at the two, I mean, you cannot tell any difference just based on the website. It's the same Pantone colors, the same logos, things like that. And again, imagine if you were looking on a mobile device. So difficult to be able to show that. Kind of shifting gears a little bit, I talked about dark web, and we'll get into some screenshots of our platform, but I also want to talk about Bullfish ID, which is the security awareness, because that ties into the phishing simulations. And by the way, I'll just share the results of the poll. So 67% of you said no. Actually, 33% is pretty high percentage that are starting to require it. So that's really cool to see that that some MSPs are requiring it. We strongly believe that you should be requiring it as part of your security stack. And
Would
so
you have
what
seen
else?
that response like 2 months ago?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Like
not at all,
that's
right?
amazing to see, actually. Yeah, no, 33% is really high. I think I would have seen 10%, to be honest. So that's the cool thing. Well, I shouldn't say it's the cool thing. The one benefit for an MSP with the shift to remote work is now people are starting to understand this stuff, right? And even as an MSP, I would say to my customer, I have no baseline for having any understanding of where your employees are as far as understanding security and the basic elements of security. We have to roll out this phishing simulation so that we can also get buy-in on the security awareness training. And I'm going to show you a slide here in a second that's going to prove out really well. But one thing I wanted to point out that's really cool stat, and I'm going to show how to use this. Of course, we show you stats on click rates and things like this, but we actually allow the end user to submit their data, which usually means they're submitting their credentials on a fake email. Now, we don't store that data, but for you as an MSP, that's one of the most powerful stats you can go into with a customer to show. And I actually have an example of an MSP that did this. It's one of the coolest things I've ever heard, really. They had a break fix customer of 10 years, and they finally convinced them to run a phishing simulation. They had 25 employees, 92% of them clicked on the email, 54% of them gave up their credentials, which led to a 3-year MSP contract worth almost $252,000 over the next 3 years. So that's the power of this data along with the dark web data, because it's really the proof that finally allows you as an MSP to tell your customers, hey, this is why you need X, Y, and Z, because these things have actually occurred already. Just another couple of snapshots that I'll run through and be somewhat mindful of my time. This is really ransomware as a service. This is crazy because and I'm going to show you a slide of our platform. If I would tell you something about our platform, I'd say it's white labeled and multi-tenant, and that's exactly what this is, except it's for the bad guys. So again, just showing that it's being run like a business. And by the way, this slide, if you're at speaking in front of your customers, you'll see lots of people, if it was in person, you'd see lots of people pull out their phone and take pictures because people are fascinated by this stuff and it does really get their attention. Of course, we talked about the dark overlords earlier, but what you're trying to do this entire presentation as you're going through it with your customers is, really paint that picture of, hey, this is being run like a business. You are a target. And it's not that they're necessarily a target individually, it's that they get wrapped up in all of these bigger breaches. So this is an example, database collection. This was, the media called it the mega breach, but it was really a collection from the last 5 or 10 years of all the different breaches. But it was 773 million unique email and passwords, and it was being sold for $10. So the data had already been out there. That's why it's not worth as much. But think about any person could buy it for $10 and has access to these. And who knows if people really are changing passwords. And by the way, run like a business. Here's your communication ratings, your quality ratings. This one, Alex, you guys are out of Florida. Here's one of the small corporate 201 credit card dumps. This one, they were feeling a little festive because they are offering a holiday discount, no different than somebody else would, in a retail business or something like that. Of course, Zoom, right? Zoom had all kinds of issues when everybody was shifting to the virtual environments. And to Zoom's credit, they actually reacted pretty quickly as far as security. But Zoom, Zoom rooms were being posted and Zoom accounts were being posted on the dark web. And remember what I said, they're so nimble. They react so quick to the marketplace changes. But really the overall arching theme is everything starts from a single compromised credential. The percentages roll out, phishing compromises is really one of the highest at 44%. Real quickly, I'll just give you some snapshots from our platform. So we have ongoing monitoring. We have a live data search where you can put the domain of any organization and it pulls up the 100 most recent emails and passwords. This is what we call our door opener. It allows you to have conversations with your customers or with prospects around security, right? You're actually showing them an instance that has already occurred. And again, that gets back into the conversation of you're not just selling dark web monitoring, you're selling two-factor authentication, password management, single sign security training, DNS filtering. It just goes on, and it's really, you should sell this as a security stack. I don't have time to really dive too far into actual live searches today, but again, you put the domain of any organization, it pulls up the 100 most recent emails and passwords. And actually, if you sign up for a demo, you'll be able to do those live searches with our team. You get a really cool compromise report. It's white labeled again with your logo and everything that comes with that. We have integrations, by the way, into ConnectWise, Kaseya BMS, and Autotask from a ticketing perspective. So anytime a credential comes up, it's going to create a ticket. So it really helps automate that process for you. The final component I'll leave you with is really what we call our channel success program, which is called Kaseya Powered Services. When you purchase ID Agent as a partner of ours, you get access to a team of channel success. You actually have a dedicated channel success manager, but we do have a team as well. And you get access to our powered services portal, which is tens of thousands of documents, marketing documents, webinar decks, things like this that we talked about. That's all available to you and completely white labeled. Here's a snap kind of what that looks like. But we've got training videos, again, all kinds of marketing resources, playbooks. So you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've done a lot of this already for you. And then we have a program called Goal Assist, which is really unique. We will actually get on webinars with you and be a subject matter expert. So it would be a slightly revised version of some of the things we talked about today, but really, and shaping it obviously for your customers and prospects. But it's one of the fastest ways to benefit from the partnership. We're seeing MSPs who've done some of these Goal Assists where we've jumped on the webinar and they've closed between 3 and 5 deals before the end of the webinar. So they've got buy-in right away and really generally cover their entire cost of the partnership. And that's what's so important, leveraging your partners. It doesn't have to just be leveraging ID Agent, it could be anybody, but really utilize your partners, get them on webinars, get multiple vendors on webinars, even if they're technically competitors on some space. A lot of them will do things for you as a customer if you're using more than one service. So get them on webinars with you, really utilize that. I'll leave you with a few things just to think about from the virtual environment, because ID Agent's been known for working with our partners at events and really doing some cool things with like golf outings. But since COVID's hit, obviously we've seen a shift. James Sanders presented to his local chamber, and a host of a radio show happened to be listening in, and then asked James to come on to start doing tech talks once a month through a series. Getting the word out through social media. Peter, who's a partner of ours, offered some free dark web scans, and the channel company, who's a media company in the space, caught wind of what he was doing and asked him to be part of an article, and they published a little bit about what he was doing. So he's getting free publicity around that. This gentleman, Johan, out of, I believe, the Netherlands, he reached out to his local TV affiliate, and they ended up doing an interview with him. That's one of the coolest things about partnering with ID Agent is you're getting a really sexy topic to talk about. And trust me, TV shows, they eat that stuff up. Joint venture partners, law firms, any professional services, they love doing webinars with people that have a sexy topic to talk about. So with that said, I'll leave you on these last 2 slides, which these are really the closing slides, and they're the same slides that can be applicable for you when you're doing presentations. I've done these much more aggressively, and I'll share that in a second. I kept this very high level. So of the people who registered, we had 697 credential exposures of the group. By the way, there was an outlier. I didn't include the number in here because it throws it off too much, because it was over 1,000 credentials just for that one individual company. Percentage of MSPs with compromised credentials who registered, 79%, which is very much in line across the board with what we see. The average level of exposure per MSP is almost 37. And then the most compromised credentials by a single MSP outside of the one with over 1,000 was 315. And so what my call to action would be to you, if you're listening, is, hey, if you want to see your actual data, we are not hiding it. We will walk you through your data. We will give you context. We'll provide that information to you. If you set up a demo, we'll provide that. We'll have that call with you and provide that. And this is the same kind of message you would relay to your prospects, whether you're on a virtual environment or in person. We can run these types of reports for you, so you have all this data available. We can even run it for the individuals, and I have done slides where I put the individual company names and put it on the screen, and that really does get everybody's attention. You're not showing any personal information; it's just a number. But we really can talk with you about how to use that as a call to action in order to get booth traffic or just get people to come have a larger conversation with you. And so before I finally hand things over to Alex, we do certainly appreciate you guys taking the time. So ID Agent is offering a couple specials. If you set up a demo through idagent.com/partners, or you can reach out to me directly with my information on the screen. We will be including Bullfish ID at no additional cost. So you'll get Bullfish ID with our dark web ID platform. And then we're also giving you a $200 in credit towards any plan upgrades, which could be, if you're normally getting 20 live searches, you could get unlimited searches, or you can get more domains of customers to monitor. It's kind of like a pick and choose your own show special, which is something we've really not done until this week. So it's kind of a fun way to make sure we're giving you exactly what you want for that show special. So Alex, I think that's it. I think maybe I had one more poll that I guess I could run. Yeah, I
Do
kind
it.
of went over it. All right, sure. Which is
Yeah, do it. Why
all
not?
right, sure. Uh, has your MSP partnered with a vendor in a virtual environment? I probably should have done that before I went into that stuff, but I am curious though, because I think this is something not enough MSPs take advantage of. And ID Agent leads the way. We're not the only vendor that does, that's willing to do it, but not all vendors have the capacity to do it.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny about that too? Veriato, we have offered so many MSPs and partners to go in and virtually host or do lunch and learns and really sort of educate their clients. But what ends up happening is I don't know if it's maybe 10% have taken us up on it, and every single one of them that we do this with
Mhm.
closes business. So I don't know why it doesn't happen more. So it would be very nice if we started seeing additional, uh,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it just
yeah,
it makes sense.
yep. And Alex, I just changed the presenter to you.
Ah,
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, to that 60%, I would say, start reaching out to your vendors, because it's 6 out of 10. That's
that ain't bad.
60% or whatever. Yeah, that's I mean, it's not bad, but we want more of you doing
We
it.
want more.
We want more. Yeah, we really want more engagement with you guys. And again, they're the subject matter experts, so definitely take advantage of that. Yeah.
Totally. All right. So I am going to go ahead and show my screen. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, so Matt basically painted this perfect picture for me to just jump right in because he went in from an external threat and the hackers and the ransomware and oh shoot, what do we do when our credentials are compromised, and how is this turning into something so big so fast with the current landscape of what our clients are dealing with as MSPs. So, just for those of you who came on a little bit later, I'm Alex Corson, the Director of Sales and Development over at Veriato, and I'm going to take us on a little bit of a journey from the inside out now. So, we're going to make sure that we don't have a hole in anybody's security strategy. And it's something that a lot of people need to start being a little bit more aware of from that perspective, because you don't always know what you don't know. And it's always sort of this elephant in the room of, we don't want to talk about this and we don't want to know where our weak links are. And again, it's a sexier conversation than a lot of the software that you probably just have to provide. Along with ID Agent, where you've got that, grab, and all of a sudden people say, oh shoot, we need to pay attention, right? So a little bit of Veriato and where we came from. We're over 20 years old. We actually started out as SpecterSoft. This is my second stint with the company. So after brand rebrand, I'm back. And we are deployed in over 3,000 organizations worldwide, including 6 of the top 10 technology companies, 7 of the top 10 financial companies, and 8 of the top 10 healthcare companies. And we just won in March of 2019 the Gold Award as the best insider threat solution from Cybersecurity Insiders. We also have been used in schools, universities, three-letter organizations, and we really were focused primarily on the enterprise for a long time. What we have decided to do, especially in the current landscape, is to really focus in on the channel and making it easy for you all to do your job and give you the same capabilities from an enterprise perspective that is still scalable so that you can grow as well. And the question for me is what percent of data breaches involved insiders? Okay. I did not set this up as a poll question. I probably should have, but if anybody wants to take a guess, I'll let you guys throw in. It is 60%, which is a huge, huge number. And again, remember from the very beginning, we're talking about people that may or may not have had malicious intent. So that's something that we want to always make sure that we're aware of, that just because something comes out of a particular insider or somebody is doing something, you've got one leg of or one side of the argument where you've got somebody that got passed up for a job promotion and they're downloading a client list and they're taking it across the street, and we want to monitor that and we want to see how they took it, if it was USB or if they were emailing something and renaming it grandma's cookie recipe or whatever. And then you've also got the other side of it where it's completely by accident. They did have something where you had to find through ID agent or a service like that that there was a breach, and really, Sally in accounting did not mean to lose all of that data, but you've got this as a way to track that, and hopefully you've got a good backup solution as well. So and this slide is just from a survey that we recently conducted that asked companies about how mature their insider threat strategy is. As you can see on this, it's most of the companies have a relatively immature insider threat security program, but we did learn some interesting things from those companies that do have relatively mature ones. And I'm going to go over just a couple of those lessons really quick, not to take up too much of your time. But first, it's about the data, right? So it's not about spying on employees, and it's about the customers. So it's about keeping their credit card information, all that PII, right? So credit card info, social security numbers, patient data safe for protecting companies' intellectual property. Second, they realize that insider breaches can be the worst type of breach because they not only can affect stock prices, they can end careers, they put companies on the news. It's all about making sure that there's a little bit of crisis management kind of built in. And what we do is we basically have to bring in a holistic endpoint approach. Okay, so every company protects every single endpoint from external threats with antivirus firewalls and a whole host of security stuff, right? You've got your stack, but most have a spotty approach to insider threats. Some of you are already using DLP, which again, I should have put a poll in there because I really want to know how many of you all have a sophisticated DLP, and access controls or network analysis based on what your clients are currently using. But the mature insider strategies protect every single endpoint. So you can also not only see what's happening, but you can also predict when or where a data breach will happen because it happens so fast. And it can take it's funny because I actually just transitioned back from a backup company, where we were espousing the exact same thing, that it takes a company or an MSP roughly 197 days to detect a data breach. But with our numbers now, it's actually increased, right? The average number of days to discover a data breach is 206, which that's not great, right? So we want to be able to get an alert and move on it very, very quickly. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about Cerebral. We have a couple of different products. We've got one that is based just on investigation. So hair's on fire, we know something's going on, and we need to get an investigation done now. We've got that. We've got one that is completely based in productivity, that is all located in the cloud. It's an easy deployment. But for an MSP who's looking for a holistic, next gen predictive risk and analytics platform, Cerebral is the one that we would go for because it's an AI power insider threat platform that integrates user behavior analytics, user activity monitoring, and it actually uses machine learning to get predictive analytics and allow a security team to proactively hunt threats. And we're going to go ahead and go with a basic overview of what Cerebral's components are and how it's going to work, as well as some common use cases. So, how we store the data, I'm going to be very, very honest because every single MSP on this is going to be asking how we store the data, right? Um, It's software based, but it does require a SQL database to store. So from your management console, you can remotely push the Cerebral agent out to the endpoint machines. We cover PCs, Macs, and Androids. But the agent deploys and runs in stealth mode unless you choose to make it visible to the end user. And the devices can be anywhere in the world as long as they have internet or network connection back to that main server. Now, from an MSP perspective, we do host it. So we do have multi tenancy and we have been able to build that out so that it does everything that you all want it to do from a management perspective, as well as from a just basically not taking your hair out while you're trying to manage all of your clients from an insider threat, and it can proactively alert you as well, and we'll get into that in a bit. So you can also answer questions quickly and accurately from productivity where you receive an alert or a report. So maybe the CEO just wants to see what his people are doing or what her people are doing. You can also see data exfiltration. So who's changing or deleting critical files and moving them to the cloud or through email attachments or popping it on a USB device. You can see all of that. And then we also are in investigations. Like I said, we help with that hair on fire moment where somebody in a perfect example is when we were dealing with an insurance company, very large insurance company that was dealing with a possible leak. And it turns out that one of their clients' information was leaked out. They had to prove positive that absolutely no other information was leaked out, or else they faced billions in fines. We were able to get in there and help them prove that. So that's something that is very important for them. And this is really what the clients are looking for, especially now with COVID. People just want to know what the productivity is coming out of. And I'm not saying that they care about YouTube, right? On your computer. You can absolutely have a YouTube video running in the background or Spotify or anything like that. But let's see who's working and who's not. And if they're getting their work done, how are they working? Is it more effective that they're multitasking and helping with their kids, or if they're going back and forth and they're getting their work done at 10 p.m., but they're still getting it done or even maybe more productive than they used to be. But we can at least give you an active time, a focused time, and a total time of activity that makes sense in a report based format that makes things a lot easier to understand so that no CEO or company that you have that's calling you for help has these questions, and they're all comfortable now because they know what their people are doing and how they're doing it. From a security standpoint, monitoring of document movements and identifying data exfiltration. I hate to say it, but it's happening a lot right now. People are at home and they are comfortable and they think they can get away with whatever they want to get away with because this is the new normal. Some people are actually working two jobs now. It's been an interesting uh, development where you're seeing some of the productivity falling, but you're not sure why. So it also is able now to give you a risk score. So individual employee risk score indicating threat level, because what's happening is they're setting their own baseline of what their normal is. And so we're getting sentiment and we're getting, okay, this person normally does things this way or accesses these files, but doesn't go to this server very often or doesn't access this very often. So when they do, or when there is an anomaly, we're able to then report that. It gets very, very, very powerful. And so what we do is we just go in and we watch and we analyze and we record. So we're analyzing all the user activity on endpoints, including emails, chats, web usage, files transferred. We've got network usage. We even do geofencing and psycholinguistics. So if you're looking at geofencing and they go outside of the area, where were they? Why did they go? Did they tell you that they were going to be working from the mountains that week? Which really doesn't matter because everybody's remote, but it's things like this that you all need to be aware of so that while you're building out your security portfolio for these clients, you have all of this at your fingertips. And the active time that this is sort of what I alluded to earlier, where you've got basic alerting functionality. So somebody takes a 60-minute break and they're active on Facebook. And when I'm saying active, I'm talking actively clicking, logging in, typing, playing videos, things like that, where they're clicking, scrolling, doing things, right? If there's too few hours working, you're going to see that there's a blank space, right? Too few keystrokes, you're going to see that they're not doing what they should be doing. Too much web surfing, maybe those little pop-ups are driving them crazy, but they're real distracting and they're going to go on to ESPN. So you can see all of that. And then going into inappropriate websites and hate speech, which is another side of what we do, right? And then we've got your anomaly alerting. So when Cerebral identifies a threat, what's going to happen is it's immediately going to alert the security team. So this is an alert for, Joey in accounting department, and I know him. I had lunch with him last week. Should we start a lengthy investigation to see what he's up to? Or should we see what he's doing with the patient credit card data? Or so with Cerebral, you really don't need to go in and investigate on that. It's just going to collect it and you can see a screenshot and you can actually take a look at what he's been doing, what he's been accessing, so you're not put in a bad situation. We've got enterprise-wide risk scoring, and we'll work directly with your team to set that up and deploy Cerebral. And we additionally have on-premise and cloud deployment options. So depending on what you're looking for and how you're looking to deploy for each particular client, we have a lot of options for you. The one thing that I do want to show you, if it'll let me go through, there we go, is eyes on glass visibility. And you can see exactly what happened. I'm going to walk you through this, right? So if there was an alert, you get that alert, you can go in and you can actually view those screenshots to play back everything that just happened surrounding that alert. So you can go back a few seconds, you can play it forward, you can capture everything. And it really is a time capsule DVR screenshot review while getting your key logs and keystrokes, so you know not only in what they're doing, like what if they're going in and they're accessing something useful, but what do they have in the background? What are they accessing? If they are renaming a file and they're transitioning it over to another server or they're emailing it out via Gmail, you see all of that. So it gives you the context so that you can actually act without having those doubts. So you can identify accomplices inside and out as well, and you do have the evidence that is crucial for any sort of prosecution. We work with a lot of, like I said, we've worked with a lot of the three-letter organizations. We have worked in law enforcement with schools, and what we find is that they always are able to take everything they have found with us into litigation. So when you get stuck with certain companies that are uh, basically relying on litigation hold just to back up documentation, they still need to go a step further for proof positive. And so you can review all of that with this type of a tool. So our MSP offerings, I know that Matt was able to speak at length about all of what they've been doing from an MSP perspective, and they've really been focused primarily inside the channel over at ID Agent and have done an amazing job with what they offer to their MSPs. We have developed our partner channel and MSPs and resellers for the last 5, 6 years, but we really didn't do a whole lot of focus onto it. And I'll be completely honest, it was not something that we were really putting a lot of effort into. until probably the last 2 years. Now that we've done that, and we've really built out the ability to get multi-tenancy and monthly billing, and we've sort of packaged that whole enterprise solution into an MSP platform that's much more palatable for you to take this to your clients, it's been working really, really, really well. So the scalability of it is awesome. But it's nice because it's a very appropriate time, and our phones have been ringing off the hook with people saying, "Hey, my client's looking for this. We don't know what's out on the market." So it's been an interesting time to say the least. So now that we are able to take those platforms and speak to the MSPs and the resellers a little bit more than we had in the past, um, it's been working really, really well for everybody, and we've been able to help them in tandem and do some of those lunch and learns and go out and help to educate, because half of what we do really is education. And it's interesting, to say the least, of how many end users don't even realize that these are real issues that they have to deal with. So with the partner program, we have onboarding. We go through sales collateral, case studies, videos, technical support, and training. Then we go through the recommended tracks based on what you're looking to accomplish, based on which programs that we have that you want. And then we really help with enablement. So you'll end up getting somebody like myself or our channel manager, Suzanne Parent, or one of our account managers to go in and help you out. Then we start engaging with members. We can sometimes go out and basically be a member of your team and help you to install and help you at events. Granted, there's not that many events happening, but if there's a virtual one, we're there. And then we can also assist with your demos and your sales and your incentives, and even help out with your marketing resources and dollars. So we're really looking to grow with our MSPs, and that's something that has been a big, big focus for us lately. I was gonna do a couple of screenshots, but I think I actually am running out of time, so I don't want to. I want to be conscious of time, but I do want to at least talk a little bit about what we're offering our MSPs and our resellers right now specifically. And of course, if you are interested in being a part of the program, or just getting more information or a live demo so you can see how this works, please reach out to me. It's A Corson, Courson, at veriato.com. For the rest of this year, we're actually just like the airlines right now that are like my American Airlines points have decided that I'm just going to get platinum for a whole nother year, because it was because nobody's really traveling right now. We are automatically upgrading our existing customers or resellers and MSPs to the next level up, which means your margin and your profit amounts are really, really vastly improved. So that's happening, and we're doing some monthly webinars, weekly webinars, and a lot of sales enablement. So that is all available. So please, please reach out to me or Suzanne Parent over at SPARENT at veriato.com. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor up for any questions, or if we have any additional polls. Matt, you're the poll wizard, so I'm not entirely sure. Um,
I don't have any polls, but Bob, who's an MSP out of Seattle, had a question for you, Alex. He said, I'm kind of parsing the words here a little bit. He said, "Yeah, I have a little bit of a big brother feeling. What are the issue? How do you guys deal with the privacy issue?"
Got it. So we actually are focused primarily on protecting people's privacy. However, at the same time, you got to think about it from an employer's perspective and a CEO's perspective, right? You're only as dangerous as the tools that you have. So you're going to set the permissions to not capture people's personal information. You're going to set the rules to not allow them to access certain things. You want to give them enough rope to hang themselves with, but you don't necessarily want to make it easy for them to find the tree to do it. And then on top of it, you want to make sure that if you are capturing all of the data, not everybody has access to that data, right? We're putting permissions in place. We're putting that dual launch code so that somebody from HR and the CEO has to use it in order to access specific screenshots or your IT. So it's something that we have dealt with since the beginning of, the beginning of the software, but the information is so vital in order to make sure that we are protecting our most valuable assets and also protecting ourselves from the from our most valuable assets, which are the employees, that we are at least being upfront and honest about what it is that we're providing.
Got it. Yeah, there was another question, but it's a little technical, so I think you'll probably have to answer that one individually offline.
Gotcha. Okay. And then for you, what I just have a question because I've always wondered, why is it important when people are doing a search on the dark web for older information or maybe people that are no longer working with the company?
Got it. So, oh, okay. So, like, hey, if I
Yeah,
print
if
a
they find
report,
it.
this person is not here anymore. Why is that important?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a fairly common question. So, what the idea around it is, look, this person may not have worked here for 3 years, but did you actually have like onboarding and offboarding policies around, beyond Active Directory, right? You shut off their Active Directory. Did you shut off their access to the CRM system or whatever they were logging into? And more times than not, when our MSPs actually go through this question with their customers, you start to unravel and realize that they actually have no idea where the individual had logins using their work email. And in some cases, the password is still active. So not that long ago, an MSP had this conversation with a customer. It was an office manager, and she was reading the report, and she's like, "I recognize this password." She's like, "It's a password from the old office manager, but I guess they never changed it. It's the bank account numbers for the organization, and the bank account had over $1 million in cash in it." Now they got very lucky that no one had done anything with it, but that password, that email and password to that banking account with $1 million cash was sitting out on the dark web. So
Wow.
that's where that risk comes in. I mean, imagine the damage you could do if I access your CRM system. I don't even need to get to your network. I could send the most devastating malware through your CRM system, and guess who everyone in the customers is going to blame, right? So, or that's where, if it's a law firm, they have to have these things in place because one email through a CRM system could ruin your reputation overnight. So
Yeah,
that's where those older or people who don't work there anymore really come into play.
100%. Well, I don't have any other questions, and it looks like we do have a couple of emails coming in, but other than that, Matt, thank you so much for being a part of this. I think it's really important that we put in, all of the resources in that holistic security stack that a lot of MSPs are kind of scrambling to put in place right now. So for everybody that was listening, thank you for being a part of this. Um, Feel free to share the recording when we send it out to you, because I know there are other MSPs out there that are probably just searching the same way that you all are. And then feel free to reach out to both Matt and myself. Matt, how can they get a hold of you again?
They can just go to ideagents.com/partners, or they can email me, which is msolomon@ideagent.com.
Perfect. All right, guys, thank you so much. And Matt, thank you as always.
Of course. Thanks, Alex.
All right, bye.
Bye.